Now, Gauteng Finance MEC Lebogang Maile has tabled a 171 billion rand budget for the province. This is a 2% increase from last year's 169 billion adjusted budget. Now, despite this hike, Maile has cautioned all departments to exercise fiscal discipline. Juniour Khumalo is our reporter tracking the story, and he joins us now live. Juniour, good afternoon to you. Suppose it's a win that the budget was tabled in the first place.
Indeed, Michelle, a serious win that the budget was tabled in the first place, but there are still ongoing negotiations when it comes to passing the budget, because yesterday the Finance MEC did table the budget, but he did indicate that those negotiations are still ongoing. He has spoken to most of the parties that are involved, but he was quick to indicate that they have not spoken to the Democratic Alliance, given the stance that has been taken by the DA when it comes to the negotiations between themselves and the ANC. But as you've already indicated, it's a 2% increase from last year's budget. Last year's budget was 169 billion, which was revised. Initially, it was 166 billion, but this time around, 171 billion. That is set to increase to about 175 billion next year and another 180 billion when it comes to 2027. Most of the money actually is going to education as well as health facilities when it comes to Gauteng. This has been the case for the past a few years. But right now, we're just trying to get responses, Michelle, from some of the political parties that were there. Joining me firstly is going to be from Rise Mzansi, Vuyiswa. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. The MEC for Finance has tabled the budget. Just to get your thoughts around the budget that was tabled.
Look, thanks, Juniour. I mean, it's no secret that we are operating in a highly constrained fiscal environment. And so the 2% increase that you've correctly reported on is a reflection and a sign of the times. What becomes very important right now are really three things. Number one, cost containment and how we intend to spend public funds more efficiently, more impactfully, and more effectively for the delivery of services. The second thing that becomes extremely important now is around how we grow this economy and increase the size of the pie. So we want to see a higher allocation to growth-generating activities. And there I'm talking about infrastructure development. I'm talking about, investing in small businesses, improving transport infrastructure, digital infrastructure, etc. Those are the types of things we're looking out for. Notwithstanding, of course, the agricultural sector, which we know is a key driver of job creation and economic activity in our province. And then, of course, the third thing is really about consequence management. Where there have been instances of fruitless and wasteful expenditure, where there have been people who have failed lifestyle audits, we want to see those cases being quickly brought to the book and those individuals being exited from the system. We are plagued by poor and incompetent leadership and people who are not really committed to fulfilling their mandate. And we want to see all of the people who actually are not interested in serving the people being exited and a wave of new leaders who can actually take this province forward.
Thank you so much. That is Vuyiswa. They're talking about the need, Michelle, for consequence management. But I'm also going to bring in the ANC Chief Whip to join us and just talk about this budget. Speaking about this budget, one of the challenges that the ANC had was the negotiations around this budget. Speak to us about those negotiations. How are they going?
Well, the budget is a reflection of the broader spectrum of all political parties that are represented in the legislature. So we consulted. I don't think it's a negotiation per se. It was a wider consultation with all the parties. What do you think we should prioritize? What are the challenges that we should address? What should this budget do in order to deal with some of the challenges that face our people in Gauteng? But also we have to ensure that it supports the vision of the Premier. And I think we all agreed. If you read every blueprint of the budget, it reflected what was raised to us as a party by the parties that we've met. We've invited all political parties to come and make an input. So all their inputs are reflected. And I can tell you what has been impressive about our consultation with the parties was that none of them spoke about themselves as parties, but spoke about the people of Gauteng. Because this is born from an acknowledgement that we are welded together for the next 5 years as political parties in the legislature, and no party here has an outright majority to govern and rule as it wants. And therefore, these consultations are necessary in everything that we do. That's why you will see that what all the items, all the line items that have been funded and budgeted for have been priority issues. On crime, you can see that the budget on crime has been increased to be able to then deal with crime. Another problem that we've had has been problems within education. The budget reflects the views of all the other parties. And then you will see that a lot of money has also gone to health, because we are worried about the state of our hospitals and our people to be able to reach health care. And of course, there were also metrics that we said we are going to send to national, which are used to actually fund our budget, which we believe that the innovations that we come with must not penalize us. Because, for instance, you get money from national government as per the number of people that come to your hospitals. But in Gauteng, you know that our people, or those who are on chronic medication, we take medication to them. And therefore, that does not count as people who are getting services from our hospital, where else in the other sense, through innovation, we are addressing that. So there's no negotiation, there is consultation with parties, so that we are able to then present what we've just presented, which is a reflection of the broader spectrum of all political parties that are represented in the legislature. We are quite happy that the MEC was able to listen to the inputs of all parties, and that the MEC was able to put that in the speech. But it also speaks to the vision that was presented by the Premier during the SOPA speech.
Thank you so much. That is the Chief Whip of the ANC. They also just talking about the talks that happened between the parties that culminated to this budget that was presented. Now just bringing in the economic freedom fighters we expect to play a key role when it comes to passing this budget because the ANC is running a minority government in this province and they will need the support of the economic freedom fighters. So just to get a sense from you as the EFF, do you welcome this budget that was passed, and are you going to be supporting this budget?
No, we welcome the budget that was passed. However, we made few submissions in the stakeholder meetings as the EFF that we believe and have 100% confident that the government must address before we even go and test each other in a vote. We are going to hold them accountable in terms of our submissions. We've appealed to this government that they presented the budget that they must give free sanitary towels to our people. We have a large problem of youth unemployment in Gauteng. And the budget allocation, the programs of government must speak to that. We have made submissions that we've got infrastructural challenges in Gauteng that needs to be addressed because there's a lot of schools that they've promised our people, and today we are sitting up with a backlog in terms of the schools, and there is shortages of infrastructure in those schools. A health department, both the health and the education department contributes 70% of the budget that was presented. And that's where the major problems are at. And that's where the interest of the EFF is at. We have appealed to the government that we need to have our clinics open 24 hours so that our people can get the basic services. We have appealed with them in terms of the corruption, the incapacity of the Department of Health. They need to develop a strategy and a monitoring team that is going to ensure that those problems are addressed. Almost 3.1 billion is being addressed in terms of only to address overtimes. So we have a problem. We can't have 3.1 billion for overtime when our people don't have the services. The overtimes that they are claiming does not translate to the service delivery that's supposed to go to our people. The Department of Education, we have an influx of learners everywhere. In the program of the EFF this year, when we're embarking on Umntwana Esikolweni, we have discovered that even today there's still learners that are without flushing toilets. But yet, majority of our budget goes to those departments. There's no political will. There need to be an intervention in terms of making sure that our people get the service that they deserve.
Thank you so much. That is the economic freedom fighters there, Michelle, just talking about some of the demands that they put on the table should the ANC minority government in Gauteng wish to have that budget passed, because they don't have enough seats. From the 80-seat legislature, the current coalition government has about 32 seats. So they do need that vote from the EFF, who have about 11 seats in this legislature, Michelle.
Certainly, Junior. Important story, that one. In just a moment, we'll get you some analysis as well, following on from Juniour Khumalo's various conversations there, including how the economic hub of the country returned over 2 billion rand to Treasury.